Good morning, South Africa. June 30th, the aftermath. While there was no massive July 2021 uprising like we saw previously, there certainly was some misbehavior. The police threatened those who carried weapons, including knob carriers and pungas, that they would be arrested. None of that happened. Also, we were told these crowds would be massive. They weren't, not even remotely massive. Even the biggest one in Durban wasn't that impressive, just a few thousand people at best, even though multiple marches converged. But that's not the story of June 30th for many South Africans, those hoping to participate in the U.S. refugee program. On the 30th of June, ineligibility letters went out, frequently called denial letters by folks. But these letters went out to quite a few people. In fact, during my live stream talking about the denial letters, as we're calling them, but they're for ineligibility, in a poll of 1,800 of the 16,000 viewers, 126 said they had received denial letters. Now, take them at their word. Many people were very angry, some blaming me or attacking me or being rather nasty, and I appreciate that. People want to strike out. They're hurt. They felt they would come over, that this was, they're entitled to this, or that they need it, or they deserve it, or it's a last hope for them. I appreciate that. I have nothing to do with your denials or your approvals. I don't work for USCIS. All I can do is tell you the truth and analyze the program in the absence of information from the government, which has been the norm for this program since the outset. The government has not been forthcoming with information. We still don't know the total number of people who have applied for the program. We don't know the number of people who have been denied. Now we know today at least 126, if not a few hundred or several hundred, were denied. Not everybody watches my program, so I couldn't give you the total number, but at least 126 people on my program today said that they had been denied. And that affects more than 126 people. One of the cases had 5 people on it. Another one had 2. So that's 7. So that's almost 4 people average per case. So if it's 126, we're talking about 500 people that won't be coming over, roughly speaking, all things being equal. So why the denial letters now? Well, ironically, less than 24 hours, in fact, about 6 or 8 hours prior to the letters going out, I had made a video last night in which I tried to explain why I believe there have been no denial letters to date. And in my estimation, it probably has something to do with the fact that the program was canceled last year when the president came in office. And then he used an executive order to launch a new program for South Africans. There are legal considerations for these programs. Now, he acted under the law and he complied with the law. But before denial letters go out, because they're legally binding documents, this had to have case review by lawyers. And I know how this works. In the military, we have lots of lawyers that always have something to say about operations. So in my mind, no doubt what happened was that the State Department lawyers probably had to review this and review the existing program, which was suspended, and the executive order, which opened up a new program. That's what my belief is. And so why all these letters at once? Well, I suspect that some people were denied, maybe in October, December, January, February, March, April, May, and letters didn't go out. Now, is that fair to them? No, not even remotely fair. But the government is dotting the I's and crossing the T's and making sure they've done this correctly and legally. That's my analysis, and that's what I said last night. That doesn't make it any easier a blow for those who didn't get it. So why the denials? A lot of people are all kinds of conspiracy theories. The letters aren't genuine. They are. There's no timestamp. There wouldn't be a timestamp. The person that signed it isn't the person that sent it to me. Of course not. The person that signs your denial is the director. The person that sends it to is someone in the admin chain. Lots of conspiracy theories. Well, it's because these are the people in October, November, they all get screwed. No. It's all the people in admin hold. No, it isn't all the people in admin hold. So many other conspiracy theories, nothing backed up by fact, supposition. A lot of so-called experts, well, I have a contact in USCIS. No, you don't. You know what you're talking about. I'll tell you why people are getting denied. Criminal activity, criminal convictions, lying to investigators, and drug offenses and drug use. Now, a lot of people are going to say, that isn't me. I don't have any of this stuff. That may very well be the case. But that doesn't mean they don't have information indicating you have that. And that's the conundrum. If you are innocent, there's nothing you can do. The letter says you are inadmissible, you're ineligible, and you cannot appeal. That's tough. I have sent emails to several government places asking for clarification on this. I don't know if I'll get clarification on this. People ask if they can do a Freedom of Information Act. I know previously one refugee did a Freedom of Information Act about their case, and what they got back was almost nothing, because much of the data was blacked out because it's protected. It's personal identifiable information from their investigations, and they can't release it. And anything that might compromise the source gets protected too. So people can do what they want. At the moment, they have no recourse. I'm asking, I'm sure other people ask, but I have cautioned people this is coming. Also, over the past year, I've repeatedly said the following: an act of omission is an act of commission. Do not mislead, do not lie. What about expunged crime? They're not expunged. You still committed the crime. If a case was dismissed, then you weren't convicted, fine. You've been charged, you tell them I was charged, never convicted. I won the case, I was acquitted, or the case was dismissed, there's no evidence. But tell them. If you don't tell them, they find out about it, then you're a liar in their eyes. As an investigator, as a criminal investigator, counterintelligence investigator, when someone doesn't tell me information, I ask them directly, I consider them a liar. Yes, people forget, memories fade, particularly if you're older. I get that. But that's not the norm. That's the exception. A lot of people are speculating, well, they couldn't prove future persecution. Trust me, folks, the Trump administration, in my view, is not all that concerned about your past or future persecution. You all make this big deal, I've got to present this case. But again, it's not about crime. And it's easy to prove future persecution. 145 race-based laws. If I was your adjudicator, case closed, done. You've proven it. Genuine concern. I got it. You're a whitey, you're an Indian, you're colored, you're screwed. I got it. So it wasn't that either. Again, it's things that weren't disclosed, an act of omission, or an outright lie. One of my viewers said he has a friend who had a case that was expunged on a conviction. When asked if he ever been arrested or convicted, he said no. Well, of course, they found out about the case. The expunged doesn't mean the record's gone. Just means you don't have a personal criminal record. It doesn't mean the government doesn't retain records of it, or witnesses don't remember that it happened to you and then they dig deeper. So they consider that a lie. You made yourself ineligible. I warned people, and I know not everybody watches my program. I can't help that. If it had my way, everybody in South Africa who's interested in this program would be watching, and I'd have 50,000 people per night watching my program. That'd be fantastic. I'd be fabulously wealthy, flying back and forth to South Africa all the time, even buy my own jet. No, just kidding about that. But seriously, I can't reach everybody. I do my best. But people hear what they want to hear. People come on my program and argue with me and tell me I'm wrong. Yet time and again, I'm correct. Because I know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I don't get things incorrect occasionally. And if I do get incorrect, I correct the record and I tell you I got it wrong. But I was never wrong. I had a couple people who had sour grapes who were frustrated. They got a disapproval letter, a denial, inadmissibility, or ineligible letter, and one or two tried to blame me. Well, the colonel told us to be honest. I told him about my drug use and now I'm banned. Well, we don't know that's the reason that you didn't get over. We don't know that's the reason. You're supposing that because they don't tell you. But I do know people, and I can tell you 3 people in the conversation today popped on and said they admitted past drug use because they listened to what I said. They told them they were honest. The questions were asked, and they're in the USA. So you didn't get here not because of me. You're not in the USA because of me. You're in the USA because of your conduct or allegations of your conduct, and maybe they're untrue. But I'm guessing in many cases, there's more to the story than people are willing to admit. And I appreciate that. And I feel bad for those people, but there's nothing I can do. And being mad at me isn't going to change anything. Howling at the wind isn't going to change anything. And for those who say I upset my life, I was promised, you were promised nothing. U.S. government never promised you anything. I didn't promise you anything. Certainly not a rose garden. I said this is a difficult process. It will break families apart and it will be time consuming and it's no guarantee and it can be revoked. Your approval letter is a conditional approval. I've said that all along. I wish people would leisten Mensa now. Conditional approval. It can be revoked at any time. We have a case of someone today that sent me a letter of approval in October. 5 people in the case. And they just got a denial letter on the 30th of June. That's heartbreaking. But somebody in that group of 5 has got a reason that family is not coming over now. I don't know who it is or what the problem is. I can't explain it. But yes, that can happen. That's an example of how an approval letter and then a denial. So all I can say, folks, is honesty is the best policy. And no one has a right. It's a privilege and it can be revoked. So as I've always said, put your statement, your intake questionnaire in, move on with your life. Move on with your life. Continue your life. Don't quit your jobs. Don't take your kids out of school. Don't get rid of your lease. Don't get rid of your car. Don't get rid of things until you've been approved. And then I'd hesitate until I had tickets. You got to be smart about this. Best of luck out there, folks. God bless.